Hello, friends, and welcome to a brand new episode of Real Friends. I don't know what number it is, but I do know that my name is T-Bob Abear, and as always, I am joined by Rivers Huey and Nathan Velasquez.
Hi,
They're on the
guys.
far right.
Hello.
Yeah, good job for saying hi,
I know,
Nathan.
sorry.
Rivers kind of missed the cue there and
I
caused
forget that we also have audio versions
some
of
awkward
this.
audio silence there.
But speaking of having an audio version, you can now find us on iTunes.
Nice,
Very
perfect. Okay, I'm going to
exciting.
share that link for sure. All the details will be in the description. Is that true? I actually don't know. I don't actually write
If it'll
this
be
out.
in the description?
Yeah, like
I
the
mean,
links for
The details,
everything.
yeah.
Can you put it in the description?
Yeah, there
She
you go.
usually
I've
writes
just
the
I've just
description.
always wanted to say that. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and they always say that all the information
can
in the
find the
description,
information
so.
in the description.
Perfect. There you go. So on this week's episode of Real Friends, we're looking at Disney animated movies. And interestingly, we're going to kind of take a trip through the ages. We're going to start in 1951 with Alice in Wonderland. Then we're going to move all the way to 1981 for Fox the Hound. And then Tarzan was 90s?
99.
99, turn of the millennium. And so we'll talk about those three movies. And then we'll also maybe have a little discussion on just kind of how the animation changed through the 50 years that we're covering today. But before we get into the movies, what have y'all been watching lately?
I saw A Quiet Place 2 times, which is super scary.
Like every time you see a movie, I'm like, I want to see that movie.
I should have seen it instead of Ready Player One. I dropped the ball there.
Every person that I've talked to that has gone to see it, I mean, they've loved it. But everyone has like this nightmare story about having bought some sort of food before they went in the theater and like having to eat the food and during the movie. And it's like, and
It's so quiet.
And all of them are like, no one else probably even really noticed, but like, there's one girl got nachos, and which I don't know.
Oh,
I
no,
guess I
that's
don't
a
ever get
terrible idea.
nachos,
Really
but like
bad
whatever.
idea.
But she
I
got
think
the
people
nachos,
would definitely notice
and she
too.
was like, every single bite I took was just like
Well, the
a
first,
nightmare.
I went on a Thursday night because I just wanted to see it like right when it came out, and I
Yeah.
got a screening with a bunch of teenagers who you just heard lots of like whenever it was really quiet.
God, I hate teens. They're the scum of the earth. They really are just the worst type of people.
Imagine if you were in the time whenever like a king was a teenager, like the
I
certain people
can't.
died and then a teenager became the king of whatever nation you
Well,
were
it's
a part of.
interesting. I'm actually going to bring up the fallacies of monarchy in today's episode later. But
You do love your history.
that is just I'm already an over-aggressive eater where I can be in a normal movie and my popcorn eating can be so loud, obnoxious that my wife can get a bit embarrassed.
yeah,
so
because you like shovel it.
well, it's like you're supposed to. The technique is how my dad taught me. It's like, think of it like a. Have you ever seen those like sifting machines where they kind of shake back and forth to get stuff down there? So you get a big scoop and then you kind of just move it back and forth until it's all in your mouth.
Kevin does that shit too, and I hate it so
man.
And then, but
much.
it gets all caught in my beard. The thing is, though, popcorn is such an insubstantial bite of food on its own that you have to have a lot of it
I do like one at a time.
to be happy.
I'm
No,
Did you
see,
guys-
really
I've tried and it just doesn't do it
Did
for
y'all
me.
ever see the HBO Ellen stand-up that she did like in 2000? It's
No,
very
I've
funny.
never
There's a
seen any
part-
Ellen stand-up.
There's a very funny part where she talks about how strange it is that popcorn is the thing that we have in theaters. Like, it's almost disgusting. Like, if you were ever at home and you just decided, like, gosh, I am hungry, and you would make yourself a tub of popcorn to just eat by yourself. Like, the movie theater
Oh,
is the
you're
only
saying
place
like
you can
you're saying like
acceptably-
away from a movie,
Right.
Like, yeah.
A movie theater is the only place you can actually
whole tub.
consume a disgusting amount of
Oh,
popcorn.
well,
I'm sure.
I don't know about that. I mean, now I'm not gonna just eat casual popcorn, but if I'm sitting down and watching something, I can pop 2 or 3 bags and
Really?
slam
Oh, wow.
that popcorn.
I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever-
Usually, like
yeah.
one thing of like small popcorn will last me a
One
movie.
small bag
Yeah.
of popcorn.
Well,
What
I
are you,
think
a
I just
bird?
get to the
Popcorn
end
is
of it, and then I'm
massive
like, okay,
nowadays.
we're done with this now.
If you get a small popcorn,
Well,
it'll
yeah,
get
until
you
you gotta
about
pop more
2
at the
bags.
beginning. That's why I popped 2 bags.
But the second time I went to see it, I was sitting in. I always get those handicap seats, the handicap companion seats.
Yeah, because nobody needs those, Nathan.
Well,
wow.
I've never
Well,
been in a
I'm just-
situation where there
I'm
has been
kidding,
someone in a
I'm
wheelchair.
kidding, I'm kidding.
I would give up my seat.
I know
if
you
needed.
would. I know you would.
But
Piece of
usually old people will sit in those companion seats, and the only thing worse than like teenagers in a movie screening are old people.
Old people.
Why?
Because I sat there and well, I guess I won't tell you. There-
worried, Jerry. Where's the monster?
the monster shows up at some
Oh,
point
God.
pretty early on in the movie. You get a glimpse of it,
Your
and
old
so the
person.
old person, the husband says to him, "I did not know this was going to be a sci-fi movie."
Oh, geez, what are we doing here? Clarice. Gladys.
And like
Dragged out here for this shit.
the wife had to explain to the husband, like, no, they can't talk because that's how they're gonna hear them if they talk.
That's actually, that has like a comedy skit.
I was about to say, that actually
written
sounds pretty
all over.
cool.
That's got a lot of.
And they were talking at a
comedic
level that
potential.
was not like they were even trying. Like, I think you must reach an age if you had a certain type of life to just be like, F everyone here.
I've lived for so long, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah,
Me and Caitlin
exactly.
had one of those very freeing movie experiences last week when we went to see Ready Player One, where we were literally the only ones in the theater.
Really?
Yeah, and so we could yell. I was taking full advantage of it, talking at full volume, yelling at the
Nice.
screen when I was upset or happy. It was, it felt a little rebellious, actually, to be in there alone doing it. Also a little creepy. So I saw Ready Player One. I did not like as much as they did. I think if I was, and all my friends disagree with me. They're all giving me shit for being too uptight. I think if I'd seen it as a child, I would have definitely liked it.
Like me.
Well, no. I mean, like, I get it. Like, for kids, great fun Spielberg movie. I don't think he hits the tough task of making a movie that's both entertaining for adults and for kids. Although a lot of people
Okay.
disagree with me. I think that it's a little, I don't know. It didn't do a ton for me. And obviously, there is a lot of good in there. The Shining scene's incredible, but the main lesson that the main character takes away from the movie is my biggest hang up.
Now, I do think, just to address this, you did mention to me, because like in the movie at the end, they kind of decide to close the Oasis.
Yeah, sure.
for
I
2
didn't know
days.
if we were going to say that.
Well, we've always spoiled stuff
Yeah,
on
that's
this.
fine.
Okay. So spoiler alerts for Ready Player One. Let me lay out my problems with the movie then.
Well, I would just say that the one thing I definitely agree with you with is that the fact that he decided to close the Oasis for 2 days is stupid, especially because he becomes rich.
He is worse than the Sixers. The other people would have rather probably
Which are the bad
advertising
guys.
over the Oasis being shut down 2 days a week. So Wade Watts, the main character, first off, the guy who creates his virtual reality world, this is the genius writing level they use for their main moral takeaway. Only real life is real, which is like so lazy and on the nose to begin with. I think it's terrible. And then that whole message makes no sense to me, given that the main character, every meaningful relationship he has in the movie was forged online, virtually, with people he hadn't met, all of his best friends.
I haven't seen it though, so this might be a dumb question, but
Yeah.
but then he meets them in real life,
Yes.
and that's really where the relationship is like. forged.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That is how they paint it, and that's completely devaluing online relationships, which are way more commonplace nowadays.
For sure.
They are the way of the future, and they are as legitimate as a real life relationship. That's my point. I don't buy this idea, especially not as we become more and more technology enabled, and this movie's set in the future. I don't buy this idea of only real life is real. If anything, real life's almost becoming like less and less real. So they devalue all that, and then he gets control of the Oasis, and because he's now learned this lesson, he decides to shut it down on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And
And it's like, okay, when he was poor as shit, living in the slums, in the stacks, and all he wanted to do was escape reality, do you think he wanted them to shut it down on Tuesdays and Thursdays? But now that he's got a girlfriend and he's living in the mansion, he's on his moral high horse, and he's going to go out there and teach all the kids about going outside. Get the hell out of here, Wade Watts. He would be reviled in real life.
Isn't like the place not a place you'd want to be outside?
Yeah, it's the world's terrible. The world's terrible and
terrible.
overpopulated.
Well, and I will say, in the like what the story itself sets up, I understand from a point of view, and I don't play video games, so I can't really speak to that culture. But in the movie, at the beginning, they say like people have now gotten to the point where instead of trying to solve the problems of the world, they just try and survive them and live through them, and the Oasis kind of helps enable the ability to act that way. I do think that the lesson of, don't spend all your time online so that you can actually deal with problems going on in the real world. And it kind of, towards the end, you see why that's important. So I was fine with that lesson. So I was kind of fine with that because I thought the movie kind of set that up.
And this is where we just have differing opinions, because in my opinion, I think that lesson is a dying mindset. This idea that like in the future, you will be able to live your life in a virtual world while solving the real world's problems. Like they will use virtual spaces to solve these issues. Like
Which probably,
like trying to
in
stay
this story,
married
they
to the
weren't.
real world, you're fighting a losing battle. I feel we're heading towards the cyborg future where we're all just a mishmash of human and technology parts.
feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. Like that makes me sad. Like I want to agree with Nathan.
It
just
doesn't
because,
have
like,
to be though.
But it does. But I mean, but for me, it is. Like just like I don't know. That just
Well,
makes
in
me
the movie,
sad.
and in the movie,
the people
of course,
aren't going to be living in the real
they
world.
didn't have the time to show, corrupt presidents or officials or things like that. So you don't really see how poverty has gotten out of hand.
Too, I think, you know what makes me sad? I think, like, just that in general is because I'm someone just like me personally, like, and this is not the same for everyone. I crave human interaction.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I need it. It makes me feel energized. It makes me feel happy. And the days that I don't get to interact with people, like, in a real, I mean, because I interact with people socially all the time on the internet and whatever. But, like, when I can't be with people having actual real life conversations, I get, like, pretty depressed. Like, so for me to hear that might be how people have to be all the time, like, that makes me sad.
What about when you reach the point where simulations are real enough where it feels like you're really hanging out
maybe,
with
but
someone?
we're not there yet.
Oh,
so,
no.
So it's hard for me to imagine
I'm
that
talking
world,
far in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm talking about is not coming anytime soon.
Right, and it's hard for me to
necessarily.
imagine that because I don't really have any. I don't have anything to compare it to,
And that's what I'm saying. I don't video game, so I feel I don't want to be critiquing the mindset of people who are actually involved in this type of thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I just think the ironic part of it is for a movie that is about the future and how virtual reality is kind of taking over the world. It's got this weird kind of old school lesson that it wants you to learn.
Maybe it would have been better served with someone like Edgar Wright making it. Maybe a younger person. I mean, Steven Spielberg is great, but he's. Like
I mean,
73
it was
now.
still though. Look, I think Spielberg did what he set out to do. He made a fun movie for kids that generally most people seem to really like. I have just very specific.
Wait, and so you
hang-ups.
read the book too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so how, as far as that goes, like how did it compare to the book?
I like the book a lot better. They did not do as good of a job. Although, look, the book has its flaws. Well, I'm not going to sit here and defend it as like a literary masterpiece, but it is a fun read. One thing about the movie that I hated too was these puzzles that the whole world is trying to solve were too easy to solve.
Were they?
Like, spoiler, for the first one, it's a race, and the big secret is drive backwards. But they try to say that the entire world's been trying to crack this puzzle for 5 years, and no one drove backwards. If you know anything about how the internet works, you can't hide anything from it. They dive in the code. They break down all the code. Like somebody in 5 years would have
figured it out.
So and once again, that's a very weird technical. I'm taking it way too seriously. If you just turn your brain off, you'll enjoy that movie. But it's not maybe for me. The Andre the Giant documentary is really good though.
Oh, awesome. The only thing I would say about last thing is that the part wherever the villain gets kicked in the dick during a fight.
Yeah.
Why would you put on that part of the armor if you're going into battle?
So they have a lot
because you can, if you get hit or punched or whatever, then you feel that on this sensor layered body gear.
Okay.
So they have a lot of inconsistencies.
Would you put that part on?
They have a lot of inconsistencies in those regards that they haven't figured out, and people really haven't figured it out in real life VR either. Where okay, you can have an omnidirectional treadmill, right? That makes sense. So anywhere you walk in the game. But what about all the people you see outside walking around with headsets on? They'd be running into walls. They'd be getting run over. They'd be running into each other. They don't have the full haptic feedback suits on, so how are they actually feeling what's going on? Like, those are real-life virtual reality problems they haven't solved. Now I don't know if they will. And I don't know. I mean, everything might be heading more towards augmented reality, virtual reality. We'll have to see. But
all right, yeah. Rivers, what do you watch?
I've been watching this food documentary on Netflix, Ugly Delicious.
Is that a series?
Yeah, so it's a series. So each episode is like an hour long, and it's David Chang, who is the guy who opened Mamafuko. It's a noodle bar in New York, and then there's one in Vegas. And he owns a couple other restaurants. But he each episode is a different food. So he does pizza, tacos, crawfish. There's one that's actually a home cooking one that has been my favorite. He works with other chefs and he visits them at home, and he kind of breaks down what the difference is and like the foods that chefs cook at home and the foods that they serve in their restaurants. Because a lot of times the stuff that they cook at home is not stuff that they would ever serve in the restaurant, but it almost is more authentic and like they value it more than what is in their restaurant and just the reasons why and whatever. But the pizza one was really interesting too because they talk about Neapolitan pizza, and I didn't realize this. In Italy, I was telling you this, I think.
What is Neapolitan pizza?
So Neapolitan pizza, you have to, there has to be certain type of yeast used, certain type of cheese, and it has to come from a specific kind of animal.
Whoa.
and there can only be certain things on it. And in Italy, there's almost like this like stamp of approval. Like there's like a board
right.
of people who come around and try your pizza, and it's almost like a health grade code that you can like put in your window. Like we've been certified as like a place that serves Neapolitan
So
pizza.
is Italy actually like the origin of pizza? I thought that was
That's
always one of
what's-
those weird American
They
things.
talk about that.
Is it China?
Technically, yes, but then one of the guy who's with David Chang, like walking around, he's like, I find the idea of that strange. Like it wasn't like in Italy they were the first people who ever like put stuff on bread. Like he was like, I have to imagine that immediately as soon as humans started like making things with wheat, like we started putting stuff on wheat to make it taste better.
That's true. But
You
I mean,
know?
but somebody has to like codify it and say, okay,
Right.
a pizza is bread, marinara, and cheese.
Well, and they kind of talk about that. And technically, yes, Italy is like the
Okay.
first place.
I
But
always thought it was like an American.
I thought it was
fake thing.
China. Was it China?
Oh wait, that was like the thing that you heard when you were a kid. Like
Yeah.
everybody said, like pizza's actually. Now I'm remembering
technically,
that.
it is Italy.
Okay.
But,
All right.
but they actually, one place they go for pizza is Japan. And apparently pizza in Japan is really, really good, but it's because they just like work really hard to, I don't know.
Did you hear about
Japanese
the girl on BuzzFeed who baked bread with her own vaginal yeast?
I did. I remember that.
Would you eat
gross.
a vaginal
I
yeast
don't know
pizza?
if like that really is how it works, but
vaginal
like
yeasted toe cheese?
I think that's technically how it works. I've seen Kevin like use to
Ugly
make
delicious.
bread, and I'm not sure that's how that works.
She said she did. I did not read the article, so I don't know. I
and
remember
I'm
the
not
headline.
like bread baking expert, but I mean Kevin makes a lot of bread, and he has used like yeast culture, and that's just I don't think how it works. But maybe
I would
like,
put
I don't
you
know.
as a bread baking expert if you watched it bake live. You know more than probably like 90% of
Maybe.
people out there.
Yeah, I've seen him feed his live culture. You have to like keep it alive in your refrigerator.
Man.
What do you
Yeah.
feed it? Little mice?
Stuff like flour. I don't know what he puts in there, but like it grows.
It's like annihilation.
and if you don't, we went out of town.
It just like overtakes it.
It could. No, we went out of town and we forgot to feed it and it died. And then he had another one that he fed too
Oh,
much.
poor
And it
yeast.
literally ended up like taking over our refrigerator.
What the hell?
It's
Man.
weird.
Dude, that's kind of freaky.
It's weird. Because so you take it off, it like multiplies. So you take some off each time and use.
Oh, whoa, that's weird. I can't handle that. What is this noise that's going on?
It's just the
Nathan?
little ping
Nathan's
of
like,
the
time's
volume.
up. Stop talking about
Okay.
it.
Oh, yeah, actually, for real, though, we do. Okay.
We
do
didn't
talk
talk
about
So
about these
unless
movies.
anybody's been watching anything
Yeah,
else,
that
we
was
can
it.
move on. All right, let's start in 1951.
Which I will say, I think this is pretty cool. From like with Tarzan, I grew up with Tarzan. That came out a few
Yeah.
years after I was born. So to some people, that movie is a movie they took their own kids to see. But Alice in Wonderland's got to be a classic to.
Man.
I mean, people that saw this when it came out, like if they were just born and went to see it, would be almost 70 now. So this is definitely
It's wild.
a classic to everyone.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's an old movie now. It's up there with some other ones that we've watched. It's a Wonderful Life is what, 30s? Something along
so.
those
40s.
I think it
lines.
still
think
like, plays well.
mid-40s.
Like you could show this to a little kid now. I mean,
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It's got a definite timeless feeling. I think the animation's very impressive. Interestingly, we can talk about it later, but the animation jump from 51 to 81 was so much less than the jump from
Yeah.
81 to 99. And that's obviously like
even
computers
shorter
and
time.
technology and
Yeah.
everything. And we've talked about how technology evolves. But give us the lowdown on Alice in Wonderland.
All right, Alice in Wonderland, 1951, directed by Clyde Geronimi, Wilfred Jackson, and Hamilton Lusk. One thing I did realize in these, usually for animations, like Disney animations, they've got like 3, sometimes 4 directors on this stuff. But anyway, Alice is a young girl who is with her sister. They're just out kind of doing lessons, doing the types of things you would imagine British people do. Around what time do y'all
kind of
think?
things that you think.
Around
British-
what time
I
period
think
do you
that's
think this is?
Just-
focus on the British thing and like the prim and proper British thing because I think
Right.
that is a key point in this movie that I want to expound upon.
Well, around what time period do y'all
See, I
think
got a
this
very
is?
Victorian type of feel. No, but it's probably
Because this was 51, and it even felt like when in the style of the movie, it was a little nostalgic. So maybe like early 1900s, late 1800s, I thought.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
I think so.
I have no thoughts on that.
Okay.
I
all
mean,
right.
just as
Well,
far, my guess
yeah.
would not be.
I mean, I
would
just
not-
started thinking
I
about
would
that
have
now.
a good
that
guess. Yeah.
It didn't feel like it was modern day of whenever.
No,
But I
look
didn't
at
feel-
the
but I didn't
style
feel-
of the dress.
Well, the style of dress, but I didn't feel it didn't pull me out of it. I wasn't like
No. I didn't think so. Nothing like that. But anyways, you can
No, and
immediately.
Wonderland doesn't have a time period. We're
No,
talking
no.
about where she exists
Yeah.
in real life.
You get immediately the feel that Alice is not having any of the she's prim and proper, but
love
she's
it.
not having any of the I don't have to
They're
read
trying
your
to train
books.
her
They
to
don't
be a-
have pictures. I read books with pictures. All of the books in my world would be
love
filled
her
with
so
sex.
much.
Here is the quote that sets the tone for the movie, and I love this quote because it's a very like Tolkien-esque quote. There's a
Everything would be what it isn't. And
yes in the Lord of the Rings. What do you say? I like half as you, half as well as I should like, and I like less than half you, half as well as you deserve. Well, this is from Alice and Alice in Wonderland. If I had a world of my own, everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be what it is because everything would be what it isn't. And contrary-wise, what is, it wouldn't be. And what it wouldn't be, it would, you see? And like it's that sort of madness and sing-songness and just weirdness and wrongness that defines this entire movie. And I think this is actually...
Well, I'll say I guess, for the plot purposes, and then I'll go into a quick clip, is that she pretty much falls down this hole after following a rabbit and just meets a whole bunch of characters. And here is a part wherever she meets the Cheshire Cat.
Oh, by the way, if you'd really like to know, he went that way.
Who did?
The white rabbit.
He did?
He did what?
Went that way.
Who did?
The white rabbit.
What rabbit?
But didn't you just say? I mean, oh dear.
Can you stand on your head?
I mean, it's...
I love the Cheshire Cat.
I love this movie is so quotable, and I relate so much to Alice. There's like so many scenes. She says this over and over again, and I'm like, yeah, girl. She's like, I just give myself such good advice, and I never follow it. And I'm like, I feel you, girl.
That's one of the stronger songs.
Well, and so she says it a bunch, especially that one time where she drinks the thing that, like, the little potion, and she drinks a potion that makes her really small. And she's like, the door's like, what are you saying to yourself over there? She's like, oh, I was just giving myself some good advice. Oh, well. And then she just drinks the potion, and I'm like, man, been there.
Yeah, that definitely you could, as an adult, you have a different interpretation of that than when I think you're a young
giving
child.
myself such good advice.
This is a movie that I think straddles the line between a movie that's enjoyable for both adults and kids. I mean,
absolutely.
as far as kids are concerned, this thing is pure imagination.
It's like fantastical.
And
When did Alice in Wonderland the book come out? Do y'all know?
I don't know. I don't know.
It was the 1800s, I think.
The book's
I don't
way
know.
more
I don't really
intense,
know
though.
about when Lewis Carroll lived, but actually that's when it's set probably.
Yeah.
Is when Lewis Carroll's alive. And then I don't know about the story about him kind of writing it for the little girl. Like, aren't there some kind of
There's
everyone who's-
apparently
like some pedophilia type things. I don't know. I don't want to go into the Lewis
Marilyn
Carroll.
Manson directed Alice in Wonderland adaptation that never got released.
Well, so I think we look at this movie based on its own merits. One thing that is interesting to me, that opening quote that we talked about, what you played, the pure flowing madness and imagination of the movie.
Like a dream logic almost.
Yes, yes, that's actually I think the perfect way to describe it. It showed me why I have never enjoyed another piece of Alice in Wonderland content, which is whether it's like Huntsman, the one that they tried to make with Johnny Depp. They try to assign rules and hierarchies and an actual structure
Sense?
to a
Makes
world,
sense?
that should not and does not have it.
And
And so it
especially-
completely loses all of its magic.
In the Johnny Depp version, really quick, I couldn't remember. Is he like a combination of the Mad Hatter and the cat?
Yeah, he's like the yes.
I thought he was
is.
just the Hatter. I have
But
no
Oh no,
idea.
there was a rabbit.
Oh, is there?
I think there is
Not
a
the
rabbit.
the Cheshire Cat and the Mad Hatter.
No, because the Cheshire Cat's in that one, isn't
Okay.
he?
Yeah, I
but
think so.
either way, it's a
I'm
bad
just
movie.
curious.
It's incredible. It's not very
I
memorable
couldn't
at
remember.
all.
Well,
And
the fact that I couldn't even
what
remember
I
that, like,
love
Well, it's got
about-
like the big fight scene with the Jabberwocky and stuff. Like what? Like no. It's
what I
not
love
like,
about this, it's so fast. Like you're in Wonderland in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And it gets going so quickly. Like
And it
the
feels
Tim
like it
Burton
happens very
one
quickly.
takes like 2 hours, and it establishes like a straight narrative, which this movie almost has none of. Like
None.
it's here we have new characters, and that
There's a
story
new
that was
thing.
just told turns into flowers that just show up.
It is.
it's curiouser and curiouser.
This movie to me. So what I found interesting is the more I tried to engage with it on like a more like intellectual level, and like what is this movie trying to say? I think it actually rewards you for doing so more and more. I felt like this was like one giant satire on Alice's view of kind of English culture. And if you look at
Yeah.
all the characters, I think it supports
Good.
that.
Good way
The
of
story
putting it.
of
That's
the story of the walrus and the carpenter, very much like the titan of industry, right? With his big cigar and he's all fat, and the carpenter, he's very white collar. The carpenter's like the blue collar guy, and the carpenter mentions work. he like freaks out. He's like, work. Whoa. Let's calm down. Like, there's another way of doing this. Once he gets the carpenter to do all the work for him. And then he takes advantage of the innocent little oysters, of course, and keeps them all for himself,
Little
screwing
baby
over
oysters.
the working man. Like, I thought that was indicative.
I didn't think of that. That's very insightful.
I mean,
of you.
look, you go down the list, though.
very
Well, you go down
insightful.
the list, it keeps continuing, right? The Mad Hatter and the tea parties and the unbirthdays. It's almost like, in my mind at least, there was like a commentary on how much we party and like, why do you get drunk every weekend? Like, what could you possibly celebrate and get blackout on a random Saturday?
An unbirthday.
It's an unbirthday, right? Every day. It doesn't matter. We're celebrating. And then you look at like the Admiral ordering the soldiers around while not doing the thing that he's telling them to do, right? He's like, well, I'm dry up here. March around there and you'll get dry. And she's like, wait, they're like in the water though. And it's example after example. And then I think maybe the most like easy to see one in my mind is kind of the absurdity of like monarchy and royalty, right? Like, you have to paint these roses red to not incur the wrath of the queen. Something so trivial, so stupid, such a weird amount of effort expended for no real reason. If you don't do it, you get your head chopped off. And then you see that like with them making her make the croquet shots, whereas Alice misses it. So I thought this was like, for a story that really has no narrative, and it's incredible for kids, it's just an imagination piece and using this dream logic. I think it's got some like interesting commentary on kind of a young girl's view of the culture that she's being brought up in a bit. I thought it was, I don't know. I felt like I had a really good time like sitting down and like really trying to think about it.
Well, and that might be just, I guess, to the movie's credit. Like, sometimes people say that, like, the best movie, you could tell a movie is great because anyone can watch it and it'll say different things to everyone that you'll see in it. So, and I'm sure that's definitely there. I haven't read the book.
And look, that is, I mean, this is solely my interpretation. I did not get online and like read anything. I'm not saying that this is the way it is, but this is just what it spoke
definitely
to me.
there.
No, I mean, gosh, you got a lot more out of it than I did. I mean, I wasn't dreading watching it because I knew that I would like it, but I don't know. I just forgot how fantastical
No,
it
I was
is.
kind of apathetic towards watching it, but like whenever
I
it
was
got
too.
into
And
it, I
was
was
like,
so
but
excited.
I don't know. Maybe I really did everything she said. I was just like, as an adult, like that makes so much sense to me. The advice things.
It's got a little
like,
edge to it.
It's edgy, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And
which as a kid you don't notice that stuff. Like you're just like, oh, this is
No.
really colorful and fun, and like, but as an adult,
And especially as Disney has like expanded, I know the whole idea of like the Disneyfication of stuff. Like people were talking about that when the Fox Disney merge was going on. But in some of this stuff, it's the whole happy Disneyfication stuff. This gets dark. Like the stuff with the oysters is dark. You have a
Yeah.
caterpillar getting high all the time.
Yeah.
It's really
that's shocking
really risky.
to me. Is that like I don't as a kid like watching it, I don't even remember. I don't remember seeing that caterpillar doing that and being like, oh, that caterpillar's doing drugs. You know, like,
no.
The mouse is like an
But it
alcoholic who
definitely
has
is.
to be given like jam on his nose in order to calm down.
right? Like
The party animals.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
Like,
always
it-
an unbirthday.
I think it speaks more to how like I think kids can handle
The
a
opium
lot
addict.
more than we give them credit for, and I think it excites their imagination because this stuff does have some sad stuff, some dark stuff.
I mean, and a lot of the imagery can be very trippy and kind of scary. And it's interesting. When I was watching, I thought it was actually from the 60s, from some of those scenes and the vibes it gives off. So
The
early
animators
50s.
must have had so much fun.
You think they're making it, though, in even the late
I was about to
40s.
say,
So that's some kind of
this
ahead
seems
of its time
pretty-
type of feel.
Like I wonder what the response was when this movie came out because
not sure.
yeah, like this seems pretty.
It feels like it would have been a visual spectacle when it came out. Like you would have been kind of blown
Would've been-
away.
But some
the
of those
visuals
themes
still
even
stand out
like
today.
I mean maybe not so much the mouse being drunk, but still for like a kids movie and the caterpillar like smoking like.
I mean, it
That
had
seems
the
like in the
opium
50s
pipe
would have
and
been like
everything,
pretty.
The well,
aggressive.
and obviously though, opium tents would have been way bigger and way more prevalent in Lewis Carroll's time.
And isn't
than
wasn't
they are
that
in our
like
time?
wasn't he no stranger to the to the opium pipe?
Oh, I would imagine probably not. And then I mean, there's even like to stick with what I was talking about, how I kind of viewed the movie. You think about the flower scene, and those are like the pretty ladies, right? That look so, everything looks so perfect. It's like your modern day Instagram models, where like everything looks so perfect from the outside looking in, and then when you actually get in there, it's like much more rigid and less fun and more high stress than you really want to be a part of. So I really loved rewatching Alice in Wonderland. It doesn't overstay its welcome either.
It's like an hour and
A
20
nice
minutes.
brisk hour,
But I think it was
15 hour,
actually,
20.
yeah,
Hour
I think it was.
15.
I think it was less than an hour and 20. Like,
Well, it's
Or
like
maybe,
it's like
I
the
don't
drive to New Orleans. It's like really an hour.
But there's
20. I'm
act-
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I looked like how much time was left whenever they were playing croquet. When they were playing croquet, there's like 3.5 minutes before
Yeah.
the movie's
I did
over,
I
and
did
it gets
that
in and it
except
gets
for
out. And
before
it's,
they got to the Queen of Hearts. I was like, man, we're almost done with this movie, and they haven't even gotten to her. Like,
Yeah.
are they? I was like, is that not part of this movie? Did they just do it in the newer versions? Like, that's confusing to me. And then all of a sudden, the little door opens, and like there's
See, and that's the point, though, right? Like, this movie doesn't have narrative. If anything, it's more of a commentary. Like, it doesn't. It's not like that's where all those other Alice in Wonderland properties go wrong. Is they
Too much.
try to shoehorn this structure in there, and they want to make the queen into like an actual queen that rules this actual kingdom, and there's rules. And no, this is like you said, Nathan. I think you nailed it. This is dream logic. You're jumping from topic to topic. Things are nonsensical.
they don't have to connect.
And it must have been good to have the limitations of animating in the 40s. Like it probably takes them 4 years to animate with the technology they had back then to do an hour and 15 minutes. So that probably
You're
helped them
talking
a
in
lot.
terms of the pacing.
Right.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, that's a
they
good
knew
point.
that
That's
they
a
would have
fair
had
point.
to work a long time with. I mean, no computers, all hand drawn, nothing.
I mean, imagine a hand drawing. Like, I mean, all of this. Like, Alice
Yeah.
in Wonderland just seems like it would have
It's a
been.
beautiful movie.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Pretty intensive to like hand draw.
I also like the. I noticed it's still incredibly influential. In Phantom Thread, there is a big thing going on about like it's kind of like a fairy tale, Phantom Thread, and there's a big plot going on with mushrooms, which. Whenever I saw how much the mushroom fairy tale thing played into this, it made me think it must have had something to do there. I wonder.
I imagine, and I have nothing to back this up, but I feel like mushrooms and fairy tales would predate Alice and everything
Probably.
else, like Brothers Grimm type. But I mean, mushrooms and humans go back
Yeah.
forever. Humans have known that mushrooms make you psychedelic like forever, so they're kind of, I think, ingrained in the human consciousness at times. All right, anything else about
I
Alice?
loved how
We're
funny it
move on?
was. I laughed
It
a
was
lot.
funny, yeah.
I thought it was, as
I
an
agree.
adult, it was just very nice. I mean, the other ones I liked the movies, but I felt like I was watching sort of a kid's movie.
Yeah.
This one felt like I could watch it as an adult and really enjoy it.
I loved
agree.
how everyone took advantage of the rabbit. Like whenever there's the monster in our house, and someone goes, "Oh, don't worry, we'll smoke the monster out," and then he goes, "Oh, yes. Here's a match. No, don't smoke it out."
And even the
Scene where they break his clock.
the
They put salt in it and stress
And
me
then
out.
the clock goes
and
all
the
over
jam
the
and
place.
everything else, dude. His damn drunks, dude. They look, the Mad Hatter and his boys and the opiate mouse, like, they're just too many drinking and drugs. They all need to go to rehab.
Oh, and when they're smoking it out, and they'll be like, "Oh, look, there's a lizard with a ladder. We'll use the lizard with the ladder."
It will in dreams, right? Sometimes those
Yeah.
solutions just present
pop up.
themselves out of the most random spot, and then the lizard just gets sneezed away. And you never see him again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
done.
there he goes. All right, bye. All right, so that is Alice in Wonderland, 1951. Next up on the list, 1981,
Yes.
starring
Which that makes
Kurt Russell.
That makes so much
I
more sense
know.
to me. I didn't realize it was 81, and I didn't go back and look, but I saw that Corey Feldman is one of the voices for the
Yeah.
little kids.
Oh, I didn't know
the
that.
little ones, and I was
I
like,
didn't know that.
why does he sound so young? I thought it was in the 90s, and this makes more sense.
Also,
Fox and the Hound.
We talked about Tim Burton, who obviously did the Disney live action version. He was
There's
working
a
on the
live
Fox
action
and the Hound.
Fox and the Hound.
No. When Tim Burton was young, he was
Yeah.
working. He got fired from working on Fox and the Hound because he would draw like dead foxes. I mean, he was a very low level position, but he never
Yeah.
was really complicit with the drawing cute animals.
Oh, that's actually kind of a great that's a great little nugget about Tim Burton's career. That
He got
would be-
fired from
that would-
Disney, and then he would come back to make one of the highest grossing Disney movies.
and pretty indicative of his style.
Yeah.
If he
Yeah.
got fired for drawing dead foxes,
Yeah.
definitely a more morbid style on Tim Burton. So give us some background info on
All
Fox
right,
and the
directed by Ted Berman, Richard Rich, and Art Stevens. Fox and
Hound. Richard Rich, literally Richie Rich. Oh, wow,
Richie
okay.
Rich.
Good old Richie Rich.
Good old Richie.
Well,
Macaulay
you-
Culkin, Richie Rich is a good movie.
Oh, such a good movie. We should watch that at some point.
All right, so we have got Todd and Copper. Copper is a young fox. Todd is a young hunting dog, the two of which become good friends.
Wait, backwards.
Todd is the
Copper's the
fox,
dog.
Copper's
Todd's the
the dog.
fox. Yes.
Todd is the fox. Copper is the dog.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yes. The
Yes,
two of
yes.
them become best friends whenever they're young. I didn't realize how short the time
Yeah,
span
they
is.
like wrestled twice, and we're like, God,
Yeah.
we love
Best
each
friends.
They're
other.
good friends. They're very good friends. And
It's like perfect.
and then as time goes on, it turns out they're very mismatched. They are
One winter.
yes, one winter.
One winter.
They
It all
are-
happens very
But
quickly.
look, to be fair, animal lifespans are way shorter than humans,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
so that could be the equivalent,
Also,
a
a
couple
dog.
years.
Give a dog 6 months.
Yes,
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And the two of them are friends whenever they're young, but they're destined to be enemies because they have to. One has to be hunted and one has to escape. So here's a scene wherever the two meet for the first time.
What you smelling? I'm on the trail of something. Trail of what? I don't know yet. Why, it's you. What do you do that for? We're supposed to do that when we find what we've been tracking. I'm a fox. My name's Todd. What's your name, kid? Mine's Copper. I'm a hound dog.
Oh my God,
When he's
so
like,
adorable.
Isn't that so cute?
Yeah, with that.
I like died. Oh gosh.
All right. Well, this movie's pretty rough. Did y'all see this as a kid? Like,
Yes.
did it destroy you as a
Uh,
child?
Yes,
It
I did not enjoy it
destroyed
because
me.
of how sad it was.
I,
Like I did
um,
not. I watched it a few times, but it was not like one that you were like, put on the Fox of the Hound.
No.
I actually
You were
sobbed
done with
so
it.
hard when I watched this. My parents rented it, like we're like, oh, we're just gonna like this movie. Sobbed as a little girl, like I was 4 or 5, like I passed out.
Oh wow.
Like that's how hard I sobbed at whenever she delivers the fox to the woods.
No more Disney movies for Rivers.
Oh, dude, that's so heartbreaking.
It was so
man.
heartbreaking. But so I'll say that. So that's my experience with this movie. I mean, I've seen it several times since then, and it's always sad. But I was like, really, I didn't want to change it. I wanted to watch this
No,
movie
I was
because
happy
love this
someone
movie.
chose it.
But I was very nervous to watch it. I watched it last
I was
because I was
nervous.
like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this.
No, me too. I didn't want. I
And
wanted
you
to
know
watch
what?
it, but it was weird going back.
I was sad, and I'm not gonna lie and act like I didn't cry, but I was not as torn apart
No.
as I thought I was gonna
Me
be.
No,
too.
but I think it's kind of made to tear kids apart. Like it's kind of
Oh, yeah.
it's a good introduction to sadness.
I actually cried
for
more
kids.
during
It is.
Tarzan than I did during this movie.
Tarzan
Oh,
also,
really?
it
I
pulls
thought-
some tuck.
There was
I
a
thought
some hard things with
Tarzan
Tarzan.
lacked.
Well,
We'll
Maybe
get
I
to
had
it.
like a couple
Tarzan.
glasses
We'll
of
get
wine,
to
but like I'm just
Tarzan.
saying, I cried more at Tarzan, and I think it's maybe because I went into this movie like, oh god,
Oh, no,
I'm
I
gonna
was
like.
braced and ready.
And
Things
it
were gonna
wasn't
go bad.
as
It's funny because
bad.
I think we all had the same feeling then. Like I was legitimately scared to
I
watch
set
this movie.
expectations for sadness here, and it was
Yeah.
more like in the middle.
So you're right, Nathan. It really is like an introduction to sadness for kids. Maybe that's why some of this movie, though, why I would almost hesitate to show it to my kid,
I think
because
it's
it's
good to
way
show
too
to kids.
indicative of the real world.
No,
where
yeah.
like where like life just gets harder and shittier as
Funnily-
it goes
Not only does the
on.
old lady drop him off in the woods, it's like storming. You couldn't have picked another
Yeah.
night.
I actually
What?
looked up if you could have a fox as a pet. It's not a good idea. It's a very bad idea to get a fox
They're not
as
all
a
like
pet.
Todd?
No, they're very willful and they will hump everything and destroy all of your furniture.
Well, I mean, look, she lived, she lived out there in the middle of the
I
woods.
love
If you're
that
gonna
the
have a
old
fox as a
man
pet.
called her, get out here, widow. Like he called her a widow.
That guy-
That is
something
one of
else.
my favorite parts of the movie. Is it like an Appalachian setting? I just love the rural
Living out in the
country
woods.
setting, living out in the woods. I think they actually do a very good and authentic job of selling what those lifestyles are like, both for the hunter and for the old widow. Managing this kind of smaller day-to-day farm on her own for just to live. And I thought probably my favorite part of the movie is the setting. I think it's really beautiful. Like all of the background
Yes.
mats and like the greenery and the nature shots and obviously the little puppy and
Oh, yeah.
the puppy fox and puppy dog are just unbelievably
I
cute.
don't know.
Isn't it
It's
so
scary.
It's so scary whenever they fight. Whenever
yeah.
like his eyes, like Todd's eyes.
And I'm like, dude,
get-
chill out. He has a wife now, dude. You have you have nothing left in your heart, Copper.
Copper
He's
got
he's-
mean
he's
fast.
sitting there. He's sitting there with his new wife, trying to like.
You can make a dog mean fast.
Look,
Yeah,
I get
I
that
agree.
you like hurt his friend, Chief, whatever. But
I thought Chief
honestly,
died
but
at
I did
first, too.
But honestly, Chief was like trying to kill Todd. Like, do you blame Todd for like not getting killed?
I mean,
this is why
Copper was taken astray. I mean, they
Th-
were.
Well, this is where I get into the realities of like adulthood. That like things that you never thought you would maybe do when you were a kid, or relationships that you never thought would go awry happens because of life, because of
Life
circumstances.
happens,
like
you
a-
change. It's a whole
Yes.
deal, yeah.
And it's depressing.
Was I just putting it
Yes.
on the movie, or did it feel like it was like talking about race in particular? Like it felt like it was a big commentary
Well,
on what's going on. What
I didn't think that when I was watching
society.
it, but I was just thinking about. I mean, just in this moment, I was thinking about situations where that happens, like where you're little and things seem normal, and then you grow
You
up,
don't
and
care.
what things that when you grow up separate you that much. And I do think that race probably is something.
Maybe it isn't race. It's just the
No,
way that
but-
society you're kind of put into a
But I-
slot, no matter what you
But
do.
I think you can think that. I mean, like I can.
I
for
think
me,
it
I don't
applies
think so much.
to any area that has conflict. It
Yeah.
can be race. It's a very Romeo and Juliet story.
Yes.
Capulet
Forbidden
and
love.
Montague, right? Yeah, exactly. So it's like it could be race. What if like one of you's an Israeli, one of you's a Palestinian? Like it could be nationhood. It could be something as simple as you're from this other neighborhood that we don't like here. You know, like
Yeah.
it could be a
And
lot.
when you're
of
little,
things.
it doesn't as
but,
much
but,
matter,
But
but-
to your point, I think the race thing does stand up
do-
if you view it through that lens.
I do. I thought it was great for Disney to be making a movie that's fun to watch. This one's still very colorful. It's nice. The setting is beautiful, and it feels like it's dealing with. An adult could watch it and be like, "Gosh, I really need to rethink some of the ways my thinking process."
Very,
is
Yeah.
very adult themes. Very adult themes. That's what I'm saying for a kid.
I think it fits on a kid level. I mean, it fit for me on a kid level. I just
as
remember.
a kid, I loved it. I mean, I just was
But
really
look
sad
at how
when
intimidated we all were by
That's
it.
true.
I'm fine with. I mean, if it
That's
can.
true.
Old Yeller did the same thing for me. I mean, I don't have a. At
Yeah.
least I don't have a. My approaching the movie, I thought that was pretty cool. That's so sad.
No, I mean, look, you're opening my eyes because I would have thought that even though this will not come last place on my list, that I would have maybe ranked it last in terms of movies that I would want to show my
Maybe
child.
Alice.
But I think you're right. I think that is one of the problems with nowadays is kind of hiding a bit of that edge that fairy tales and these stories used to have. And in the end, there is a happy kind of, well, actually, it's almost like a bittersweet.
Yes, better.
And yeah, because they're still not going to be hanging out or anything, but they do come to some sort of
They're not killing.
reconciliation.
One's not trying to
And,
kill the
yeah.
other
for a
one.
kid, it's just a sad story about a dog and a fox. I doubt. I mean, I didn't take in away any of the more serious
Honestly, I'm not
stuff
sad that my
was going
parents
on.
like. I mean, I.
But I mean,
stopped
you
and
under-
passed
you-
out,
you-
but I'm not sad that my parents showed me this whenever I was
no.
little.
No, but it is interesting the feelings that we all had towards it in terms
We were
of
also
being
nervous
intimidated by
going
it.
into
And it also made me think. I forgot. I think it's in that Joseph Campbell book, like Here
Like-
with a Thousand Faces, where it talks about like there's a happy ending. Just depends on where you end the story. Like this, the ending even is really sad. It's just the
Yeah.
Todd and Vixie just looking over the hill at where Todd is, and like they were good in the end, but they probably shouldn't talk to each other again.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very realistic, very realistic ending. This is a movie where I would want to like sit down and talk to my child after they viewed it.
How did you feel?
Maybe
About
three
how it
years
made
old is a
them
little
feel.
too soon.
Well,
They
my
probably
parents,
wouldn't get it.
my parents
Yeah.
knew how I felt. We
Yeah,
paused for a little while.
passed out.
Yours is probably
We
a
paused for-
case to make why
I-
kids should
Wow.
watch it.
To be fair, like I'm always so empathetic to like animals. Like that's just how I've always
Yeah.
been. My parents said one time they were like doing yard work or something, and they left me inside probably around the same time, and I was watching E.T. And my mom wasn't thinking anything about it, but I'm inside watching E.T. and she's like, a neighbor had like walked by and she had stopped raking the yard to talk to the neighbor, and all of a sudden I come out of the house and I'm like bawling my eyes out. My mom thinks that something has happened to me, like I'm hurt or whatever.
Did
and I'm
E.T.
like,
touch you?
E.T. and I don't know. And she's just like, I can't understand any of your words. And she like came inside and saw that E.T. was on.
Wait, so which
I don't even remember
Which
what part it
part? You don't
was,
know
but
what
like,
part it was?
but she said that I was like inconsolable. Like it was just like
That's funny, man.
she was like, I promise we didn't hurt our kid, like to this neighbor. Like
We didn't really talk about it in Alice in Wonderland. What did y'all think of the songs? Because there's a lot of songs in this.
There's a lot
I
of
didn't realize.
songs.
Like the
And
Big Mama
Fox and the
always
Hound?
breaks into song.
Big Mama loves a
Fox
song.
and the Hound songs did nothing for me.
what
Oh,
were
really?
who
No.
was Big Mama's voice? She seemed, and who was the guy, the old guy's
Oh,
voice?
child, let me tell you how it is. He's gonna come back a hunting dog.
Yeah. No,
Who is she?
she's the
Pearl
stereotypical
Bailey.
old black nurse.
Okay,
Probably will be seen as a problem in about 30 to 40 years from
who's
now.
the guy?
Probably
the old
today.
guy. Who does his voice? He sounded familiar. Or no, who did Chief?
Chief Pat Bertrand. What's the name of Amos Slade?
The hunter.
Jack Albertson.
Literally no one. I don't know any of those names.
Well, I mean, to me, it was less that they sounded like a famous person and more like they were all very
Grandpa
stereotypical
Joe
voice
from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Grandpa Joe
okay,
is
very cool.
The old man?
yeah, the old man.
Very cool.
That is cool.
Kind of looks like him, actually, which I guess a lot of time animators do.
They did the same thing with the voice for the Mad Hatter. They animated it to look just like the guy who did the voice, who
Really?
apparently was
Really?
not too dissimilar from that character.
A lot of drugs.
That's awesome.
I also really like.
Yeah, no, wait. So, what did you think about the music, though?
I liked it. I mean,
Okay.
I liked it in that, sometimes when there's music, it can sometimes feel like, okay, well, we've got 3 minutes to listen to the song. I thought
Yeah.
it felt like it was, and Alice in Wonderland was the same. The music pretty much narrates exactly what is going on.
happening.
Tarzan
Yes.
does the same thing.
I had
Tarzan's interesting. We'll get to Tarzan. Well, I'll talk about it when it comes to Tarzan.
Here.
Phil Collins coming in hot.
That's the thing. Tarzan,
Collins
you
in
remember
South Park,
you
where he's
remember
got the
everything from that music. I don't remember. Like, can you name a Fox and Hound song?
No. Well, but I think it's a
Oh,
good.
the Friends. I like the Friends one. It's like when you're friends and no one cares about anything.
I
Honestly, I can't
don't
even
love,
whistle the tune.
I don't like musicals. I don't care for music in my movies.
Oh wow.
But what I will tell you is
Just
that the
hate fun.
yeah, the movie, the music in Alice in Wonderland and the Fox and the Hound didn't take me out of it. I wasn't
love
like
No,
I
no,
don't like
Enter
it.
in the
So
Walrus
like if you
song.
can do that, I think it's pretty because
It did nothing
music
for
can
me.
take me out.
It
of
did
a movie.
nothing for me, but it definitely didn't take me out of it.
Music can take me out really quickly, and it didn't take me out of either of these movies.
And I thought the Alice music was actively good.
Also, what did y'all think of
Walrus
the
and
little?
Carpenter's great.
Which I usually get annoyed by, like the side comic relief characters. I really like them, like the two
The
two
birds.
birds, and then the little caterpillar.
It was
I thought it was fun, and that this might
I
just
just
be
liked
because
them.
I grew up with
no,
it. I
it
thought
was
it was
fun.
really
It
fun.
added character to the movie, and honestly, it needed it. It needed a little padding because, like we said, the actual base relationship between the Fox and the Hounds, there's not a ton of scenes.
I will say that maybe
That
the
is
first 30 minutes felt kind of slow. Maybe it was even the first 40 minutes.
Well, it was
for
destroying
whatever
your heart.
reason, I thought that there was more. I remembered there being more time of him in the woods,
Yeah.
and there wasn't. Like that's a very short period.
Part of why I kind of was a little worried about, like, emotionally, that's one thing, but I usually don't like watching movies that left a big impact on me as a kid as an adult, because
then it
it
kinda
usually
ruins it.
wrecks that
Yeah.
feeling.
Oh
this
yeah, I
one,
know what you're saying.
an hour 23 minutes, I kind of knew this movie's probably going to feel very different.
Well, and
Revisiting it as an adult.
the side characters are
Or older.
kind of an older animation trope where I think because you were making a movie for kids, you felt like they needed some sort of like wacky relief, right? Like the slapstick physical comedy. Whereas like that would feel out of place in like one of these modern Pixar movies.
for sure.
If you were to have some
Yeah.
like a side storyline, like they fully commit their entire movie to the narrative. All right, so
But they're really
anything
the only
you
two
add on-
side. I mean, other than like the old guy, he's not really a side character. They're the only two. Like,
I'm not sure.
I guess in the woods, there's like a couple little like weird characters.
The Badger,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. He just kind of pops up.
But I
a
mean,
little
no, they are literally. That's like an old. Isn't that like an old movie thing? They're like
I
the
think,
two.
yeah.
Like they're like the two court jesters. They're like the big and small. Like that. That's like a. Their kind of comedy is almost stereotypical.
I
in
guess
of it,
we
or
have some
like
of that
a
in
trope,
Tarzan
maybe.
with Tantor and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who
Exactly.
is a
Actually,
girl
very
that I
good
keep
point.
forgetting
it
is
is
a girl.
I
The
always-
entire
yeah,
movie.
Rosie O'Donnell. Good old Rosie.
All right, let's move into Tarzan then. 1999.
Directed by Chris Buck and Kevin Lima, who you'll also know from Aladdin and Mulan and The Little Mermaid. They recently, well, actually, one of them recently retired.
Wow.
But Tarzan, I absolutely love the story. Like, if we remove the Disney movie, I love the story of Tarzan. I love the book, the whole like
Book's
wild
intense.
ape man.
Very violent.
Do you
That's
know
my
what?
only memories of the book is like flesh being ripped like from the bone and
Yeah.
stuff by the gorillas.
You know what? I for some reason in my mind mixed a lot before I watched it. Mixed a lot of the Jungle Book up with Tarzan, and I was like, when does this happen? And I was like, wait
okay,
a
where's
minute.
Blue?
Where is this talking
Wait a
snake?
minute.
Where's Blue?
This is the wrong movie.
But Tarzan, mother and
Similarities
father,
though, both raised by animals.
mother and father, they die. He is then adopted by a like
Well, first they get stranded off the coast of Africa, but they make it to Africa and they build
With
a
all their
pretty
stuff.
badass house.
Oh, yeah.
They make
pretty
it.
fast.
They make it to the coast with all of their things,
Yeah.
photos and everything.
It would be an
Yeah.
incredibly terrifying spot to be in that they seem to handle very well before they get murdered
They're
by
like, let's
a
just
they
pick up
make
these
it.
big logs and build a
Yeah,
thing.
like shout
They
out
make
to the
it.
parents.
They
Good
make it.
parents.
And Tarzan is raised by the apes, becomes one of them. Well, does he become one of them? He does very much become part of the pack. And there are then humans that make their way onto the island, which, is causing an identity crisis with Tarzan. Here is the scene where they're talking. Kerchak is warning about how they should be wary of the
Kerchak's the
humans.
alpha male gorilla.
Everyone, we will avoid the strangers. Do not let them see you and do not seek them out.
They mean us no harm, Kerchak.
Tarzan, I don't know that.
But I do. I've spent time with them.
You may
Enough
be
of your
willing
shit,
to risk
Tarzan.
our safety, but I'm not.
Why are you threatened by anyone different from you?
Protect this family.
How old do y'all think Tarzan is at this point? Is he like early 30s, maybe late 20s?
No, he's like
Do we think
17.
that old? I was going to say like
Yeah,
maybe early,
like
I feel
18.
like late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, it can't be.
For some reason, I've always grown up thinking Tarzan's like a man.
No, he's like a young man that's like just coming into his own, like challenging the alpha. Like or at least that's the vibe that I got. Even though Kerchak was right, they should have never dealt with the humans. But I get why Tarzan wanted to.
Right.
You grow
Reminded
up
me of
around a bunch of
Avatar a little
gorillas and
bit.
you finally see another human, you're going to be into seeing more humans.
As far as, did y'all see the live action version of this? That wasn't like Disney.
No.
That was Brendan Fraser, right?
No, now we're thinking George of the Jungle, right? I get my Tarzan
Your
and George of the
Jungle Men.
Jungle.
This is the guy who
confused.
did.
So many jungle movies.
I know.
That's the guy who did the last
Well, The
Harry
Rock has
Potter's
done, like, a
movies
million
with Margot Robbie and Samuel L. Jackson as the Clayton character. Did y'all not see that?
Margot
Yeah.
Robbie
It
and
sucks.
Samuel
It
Jackson
sucks
were
big
in
time.
Harry Potter.
Huh?
What are you talking about?
Wait, no. The director is the guy who did the last few Harry Potters, and he
Oh,
made a
okay.
live action Tarzan like 2 years ago. Was not very good.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
yeah.
Margot Robbie was
Margot
Jane.
Robbie was Jane.
Yeah, they had the wasn't the dude from True Blood Tarzan?
Is he in-
Ugh.
yeah,
Skarsgård,
Alexander
the giant,
Oh, I
giant,
remember that.
sexy
From,
one. Yeah,
Big Little
yeah, I was about to
Lies.
say he's good looking.
I thought you were talking about the main character
No,
from True Blood.
no. There are a bunch of hunks in True Blood, but they're all the side guys. Evan Mangela Babloni,
Oof.
whatever his name is, the
So
like
good.
biggest, jacked, hairiest, manliest
werewolf
looking
guy?
dude ever. Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
Well, there's also
There's
a little
a
bit
little
of
aside.
forbidden love going on here between with
Jane.
Tarzan and the tribe. That too. I feel like there's a lot of forbidden love going on in this story.
I feel like
Now, you- talk us through
emotionally,
your
this
problems with
movie
this
just
movie.
did not touch me at all. I think visually it's stunning.
Yeah.
The leap in
It is.
animation, especially coming from Fox and the Hound, which actually, like, while the actual pictures are beautiful, Fox and the Hound's the least visually pleasing one, I would say, out of the bunch. This one may be the most. I love tree surfing. Tree surfing is awesome. The combination of kind of computer and hand-drawn animation they use in this movie, the action is incredible. The music is incredible. The actual story itself does almost nothing for me.
The only part where
Really?
I got
Yeah.
that I did cry, and again, I had a couple glasses of wine, but it was the part where he's little, and he runs away or whatever to the little pond, and he's just like trying to put mud all over him.
Yeah.
And then his mom's like, close your eyes, and like she felt his heart, and I think maybe I don't know why that like touched me. I think when I was doing that, I was thinking about that's probably the exact same conversation that a lot of people have to have with adopted children.
Yeah, especially adopted children of like
Of
a
other-
different race.
yeah.
And
Like
again,
you're adopted.
And so
what I
in my
like about
mind, that's what that like I was imagining that is the conversation that you have, and like how hard that conversation, how heartbreaking as like a parent that conversation is to have. Like I was
Yeah.
looking at it more from a perspective of someone who like could possibly adopt someone or like have to have that conversation. And man, like that's just
that's a very
heartbreaking.
good point.
Like, and maybe that's why it made me cry.
Well, in this story, and I think that I didn't really make the attempt to engage with it on a deeper level emotionally, so maybe that's why I came away from it a bit more cold than I would have. But you are right. And now that you say that, it is a great story for anybody who has been in a situation where maybe they're just not like everybody that is surrounding them,
Right.
Whatever that may be. It deals with that kind of the tension created there.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this also deals with some tough stuff. Not like, outright in a corny way, but like the whole thing about identity, which I love about the whole man-ape story. This weird idea of a guy who's raised in the woods and, what that would be like. And whenever he finds out that he's, a real person, a man.
It's a
and-
nature versus kind of nurture type of story. And to go back to what you were saying, Rivers, I didn't think about it during that scene, but obviously throughout the movie, I did kind of think about like, This deals with a lot of the idea of like adoptive parents and who are your real parents, right? Is it the person that physically did the act? Is it the person that put the love and the time in to raise you healthy and safe and everything?
It's
And
very
obviously,
complicated and it's very hard.
yeah, and it's very tough for the person going through it. I have always, I think along with most people, agreed though that like hopefully if you were to adopt a child, I would want them to hopefully feel like I was their parent, and I would want
You
them
want
to
that,
still.
but sometimes that's not.
Yeah, I know. And look, and I mean, I think I don't know. We could have a deeper conversation, but like I think like I still want them to meet their biological parents and stuff. But I would want them to think of me as mom and dad.
But imagine
at the end
that
of the day.
feeling, like being how terrifying that is. So like,
Yeah, no, it'd be yeah. That could definitely spring some waterworks if you think about that too much.
can we talk about something that I feel like got really dark really fast? So Clayton hung himself.
Well, I mean, on
by
accident.
But
he
like,
did hang.
still,
he
he
You
like-
even see the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
silhouette of the hanging body.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the other thing. Disney's dark, and I
Jeez
appreciate it. I
Louise.
really appreciate how they're willing to do that.
Like as a parent, I would be in that theater like, what did my kid just want?
See, I for some reason I didn't find that all that.
I think kids
I didn't
can
find
deal
that
with
all that bad.
No, I think that they could, but just like I just didn't see that coming. I didn't remember.
Now,
that.
if he had like been like, "Oh, my gorilla plan's ruined," and like tied a vine around his neck,
I mean,
think
it was
I would have
clearly
had
an
a
accident.
problem.
Tarzan was trying to stop it.
Yeah.
although
yeah.
that's just the difference in that and like someone shooting him or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but still, just hanging like feels pretty dark.
A lot of off-screen death in all of these movies. You think about the hunter in Fox and the Hound, where you see the feathers from the bird that he shoots. instead
We
of
remember
actually the bird.
Bambi,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's the quintessential one, right?
off-screen death, almost of all time.
Yeah, yeah, like for
of
real.
all time.
Well, I guess 120 years.
Clayton
for movies.
was a good bad guy though, super smarmy. I do
I
love
love the
all the
dad.
animation. The
Oh,
dad was great. He's
Dad
just
was so good.
so nice.
I've gotta
And he's
say,
like, what am I doing going
I
back
know,
to
he's like,
England?
"Wow."
I want to go swing around.
People
on the
get lost in the
branches."
jungle
Yeah.
all the time.
I'd be a little pissed off if I was Jane, having decided to live with this awesome hunk of a man in the jungle for the rest of my days, and then my dad is coming along. Like,
Yeah, but the dad's cool. Remember, the dad's like, "Hey, do I
He's
need
like-
to leave you alone to that blackboard so you can fuck it?"
He's
Oh,
like,
sorry, I shouldn't say
he's
that
like
for it. I apologize.
jungle surfing at the end. He's
He
like,
is. He's sprightly for an old man.
Yeah.
Sprightly.
I mean, dude, they moved through some treetops. Jane took to treetop surfing very quickly.
she did. And I love movies that have to do with what is that? Goodness, whenever you go to distant lands to try and analyze other cultures, things like paleontology, that's not it.
anthropology.
Anthropology.
Oh yeah.
I love movies that deal with
Anthropology's like
anthropologists.
documenting
Study
like
of, like,
nature and
cultures.
wildlife, isn't it? Oh, and culture. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I
Most
love
things
anything. That's why it was that movie, Lost City of Z. I love that movie. I love anything where like these characters that go through that. So that was one part that I loved about the movie.
Yeah, and Clayton is that old, once again, that old
Well, the
English,
gorillas.
like explorer,
Yeah.
like shows up like, some of the natives will bring us around.
I also liked how they dealt with the problem of, is Tarzan going to be able to talk to the apes, and are the apes going to also, like I think that it feels like, oh, of course the way they did it is the way it should be done, but I feel like because people can be sensitive about that type of thing, whether it's like accents and actors speaking certain languages, or I thought they handled that really, really well, and it was clear for a kid. Yeah.
Gross. You just said you would eat that guy's shit. That who is who did the girl's voice? I couldn't place it the entire time. The
Glenn
voice,
Close is Kala. Minnie Driver is Jane.
I didn't
That makes
for
sense.
some
I can hear
reason
Newman is
the
Tantor.
voice kind of didn't
Newman
always fit
is
the girl.
Tantor. From Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Newman is Tantor.
I didn't know that.
Newman.
I guess they can kind of hear it now. Yeah, do you know Newman? You're a Seinfeld person,
I
aren't
know
you?
who Newman is. I'm
Okay,
like,
okay.
I'm having a hard time remembering.
I don't know. I didn't love her voice necessarily. Okay, but let's talk about the best part of this movie was the music.
Phil
Very
Collins
much so,
coming
yes.
in.
I
Now,
thought the music worked great with the movie.
I
I'm not
forgot
going to
that he
follow
did
that
the
statement, but
entire-
I love the music.
I forgot that he
Okay,
did
in my
the
opinion, the
entire
best part of the movie is the
soundtrack.
music. Yeah, yes.
And I
I
had
found myself
captions.
remembering
Like smooth
snatches
jams.
of songs and everything that I did not even know
Kevin
were
was
locked in
singing
my
some
head.
of the lyrics and was like, I was like, what are you doing? Why do you know these songs?
A lot of lines from this movie stood out in my head that I forgot about too. Like, are you sure this water's sanitary? Like, I used to say that all the time when I was a kid. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I was,
You need to get a hair. An elephant hair.
Oh, yes.
You need to get.
That was a great scene. The action scenes were excellent in this
No,
movie.
I really liked it. I can't
lot of
remember the last time I
style.
saw this movie. I obviously thought it was Jungle Book, so like whatever.
To
but-
me, I do think it's a lot of style. I think at the end of the day, though, it just lacked a bit of substance to me. But I mean, actually, through talking about it, I think you've brought up some points that I hadn't really engaged
And once I
with.
noticed those things, like I couldn't stop noticing, and
Yeah.
maybe that's why I felt so emotionally
And
attached
I think
to
I
it.
just, from a story perspective, I appreciated the way that it felt like they accomplished some pretty tough stuff pretty easily, like making making Tarzan feel a part of the group, and it didn't feel silly at all that Tarzan was a part of the ape group, and he could communicate with them clearly, and this
I think
stuff,
that's a benefit of animation because
Oh,
they
absolutely.
can make him move
and that's
so
the live
superhuman
action
ape-like.
The live action Tarzan is stupid for that reason.
Yeah.
Because you can't. It looks
Doesn't-
really
Yeah.
lame whenever he's
And
talking
then
to the apes.
It's like you can't make him look ape-like enough, and you can't
Right.
make the apes look human-like enough, so it just all breaks down a little bit.
And
Yeah.
I really like Tarzan and Jane.
Yeah,
Good couple.
I do.
The
She's
monkey.
pretty hot.
The monkey. She is very hot. The
I think
monkey chase.
she's good looking.
I love the monkeys. I love the monkey chase, but then I love how the monkeys came back in the end.
Give her
to,
a
like,
little kiss.
Give her a kiss.
With his little shoe on his head. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
One thing that is funny to me about the music is in almost every Disney movie, it's the main character singing the music. But in this one, it's not.
It's Phil Collins.
It's Phil Collins, but he's still narrating all of Tarzan's
is.
feelings, like to the T.
Well, not even. I had the subtitles on during the first song, and it was
No, it
exactly
tells
what was happening.
exactly
It's
what's
like
going-
you've lost a child.
Yes, no, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Building day after
So,
day,
like, I
danger
couldn't-
lurks.
I
And you see
couldn't get
the,
this-
Danger alert.
You see Sabora in the like fades on screen.
I couldn't get this like image out of my head of like a semi-transparent Phil Collins just like singing. Like I
Did
wish they
y'all-
would have put that like over the movie with him just like singing in the background.
Did y'all
You
ever
could
see
it
the
just
music
getting
video
down.
for this that was on the VHS that played after the credits were over?
No.
It was,
They
it would
played
go
it
from
on
Phil-
Disney all the time.
did.
I know
I
never saw
exactly
it.
It
what
would
you
go
were
from
talking
Phil
about.
Collins, and he would do that, and then
Yes,
it would have him
yes.
swinging through the
I've
tree.
literally-
I
I'm
know
gonna Google that for
100%. They used to, when Disney used to do their little commercial breaks and everything, they showed this 24/7.
I'm going to
I've
be
never
Googling
forgotten
that
this.
in a
Oh,
little bit.
absolutely. It's
I forgot that he did the whole thing, but it was funny because I did remember a lot of those songs, and Kevin did too, which is funny because Kevin doesn't remember anything or
wanna
watch
know
movies or whatever. But he was like singing along, and I was like, "What?"
It's great music. It's awesome music, and it feels a little cheesy, like
It
when you're
does.
listening to it, but it really works. Also, they do a great
Phil
job.
sells it.
They do a great job not making you think, where's Tarzan's dick? They do a good job hiding it.
And the loincloth works.
It works
seems to
in
work
amazing settings. Like
well. He's got a
every-
great bod, though.
He does.
Great bod.
He does
Great
have a
bod.
great body.
Look at these two. They're beautiful together.
They
He's got
are.
these. They both got these wonderful green eyes. They're both in incredible shape. I'm kind of a little jealous, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean,
They
I'm
would
fine not
have-
being in the jungle.
They would have a lot of Instagram followers if they existed in real life.
They would.
Well, they
They'd
decided
be
to
one
not
of those
go to the
couples that you'd be
Instagram of the
like,
day.
you'd be like, oh my god, how do they have everything so together? That's bullshit.
I
They
also
can't be
love
real.
anything with London, like at the early 20th century. I'm
in?
yes, absolutely. So I loved looking at what culture was like.
See,
and
this is
you
the
saw
same
all
time
of the-
period as Alice in Wonderland, though, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it
she has
is.
the same dress.
Although you never really see much of it. I liked when he was looking through what civilization was, and it was London and England of the.
Yes, it got that very
Maybe not England.
steamship
they say Queen
exploration,
Victoria.
Darwin
Yes,
sort of
yeah.
feel.
So
Yeah,
Queen
it's
Victoria.
Victoria.
They
It's
talked about
Victorian
Darwin.
age.
Darwin came up at one point. Who else?
Well, and you have the drawings, right? When he's going through the slideshow, and it's
Yeah.
like the hand drawn of the cultures. Now that the world's becoming a little more globalized and connected. You're right. That part of the movie did appeal to me.
Also, the Beauty and the Beast teacups. The little cameo appearance of them.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
noticed
You're right.
that.
Yeah,
Oh
you're
yeah,
right.
which I know. Yeah, I thought you would have
noticed
definitely
that.
noticed that.
Ba, ooh.
Yeah, those songs are great. I still am a little. I'm still a little back and forth on the gender of Turk. I mean,
little
But no, they said
androgynous.
girl in the beginning. They
Yeah?
said they like
Did they?
clarif-
I thought it was a boy.
in the like when they bring Tarzan in or something. They make some comment and it's a girl. But then I was very confused whenever they got a little older. Rosie made him very much seem like a boy. I don't
Look,
know.
Turk, you do you.
Do
Maybe
live your life.
I just think Turk's a lesbian.
I think. Yes.
like-
they
Yeah,
can't
like,
accept.
yes.
I guess. Yeah. I feel like Kerchak.
Also,
wouldn't
shouldn't
be
Turk
doing
have gotten
that.
a little bit bigger? Like I don't know.
Kerchak probably wouldn't be cool with that, but maybe she's like still just like has like
Maybe so.
a sexual relationship to have kids with Kerchak, but then she's allowed to have like a more romantic relationship with one of the other moms. I don't know, right? Because it's just a bunch of women
Wait,
in
so
Kerchak.
who is Newman?
Newman's the elephant.
The elephant.
Tantor.
The elephant. Got it.
And this water sanitary. Yeah. So look, this was a good movie. It was actually better than I remembered. I didn't realize how much I had liked this movie growing up, or that I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. But yeah,
25 writers are credited on this
Cool.
movie. 25 writers.
It seems
is
like
that I don't
not
have
as
a good
much
frame of
story
reference.
as
Is
you
that
would-
That's a lot.
Is that
5
a lot?
is a lot.
Okay.
5 is a lot. Yeah, what 20?
Yeah, what were they stressing out over? There wasn't really there wasn't a ton to the. They just took the story and
Yeah, the
took
story
out a bunch of
existed,
stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, I thought Clayton was a great villain. These movies
Yeah.
don't really have. I guess what's the name of the old guy in Fox and the Hound?
The Hunter.
The
Yeah,
Hunter.
the Hunter. I
He,
don't know.
I mean,
Even he's not really like a villain.
No. He's just misunderstood. Which this guy is definitely a through and through bad guy.
I mean,
He's a
in
bad guy.
the Hunter's defense, dude, the fox was in the hen house. Like,
literally.
you can't have foxes
You
in the
can't.
hen house.
And he didn't know that he wasn't trying to get his chickens.
He also didn't know that
No.
him and the dog had wrestled together twice and become best
They
friends.
were best friends.
Also, whenever they open the door, I mean, obviously, as a child, you're going to sympathize with Todd, who now thinks that the master of his best friend is probably going to try and kill him. But, you've got to eat. You've got to kill the animals out there.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
world.
straight up, man. Straight up. He looked like he did a good job
When
of
my
it, too.
child becomes devastated by Fox and the Hound and I have to sit them down and talk to them, I'm going to say, listen, if you live out there, they've got to die. Todd will probably die 3 months down the line of this movie, and it's going to be fine. It'll probably
Please
taste
don't tell
delicious.
them
Everything
that.
dies. I'm going to die.
And
Your
you
dad
definitely
is
will
going to
die.
die one day. You are going to die.
And
as well.
Definitely have a
sometimes-
conversation like that.
Sometimes kids die, so I wouldn't say that
You
you're
might
safe.
die soon. Like,
Actually, there's a This Is Us episode that deals with that pretty early on. I've been watching that lately. It's pretty good.
it's so good.
Have you cried? I heard
On
that
This Is
everyone
Us?
cries
Every
hysterically.
episode.
Yeah, I've cried almost every episode.
Every
Whoa.
episode.
Yeah.
It's like Parenthood. Did you ever watch
It makes
Parenthood?
you want
watched,
to be
like,
a better
3
parent,
episodes
too.
of Parenthood. I think I was too young for that. I just saw Mr. Incredible was in it and wanted to watch it. I don't think I was
Milo Vigimatelemeli, what's his name?
You said it as good as I could.
He's a great dad. He's a great dad in This Is Us. He really is.
ready. Well, what are y'all's favorite
Even
Disney
though I always
animated
just think about
movies?
heroes when I see
I
him.
love Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast.
I love.
Little Mermaid
Yeah.
is up there.
For me,
What?
I think it
No,
might
No, no,
be.
it
tepid
is. It
on
is
The
good.
Little
No, no, no,
Mermaid.
no. It's
Chill out.
good. It's good. It's good.
I think mine would
honestly,
be Aladdin.
The
I love
original
Aladdin.
Toy Story is
Aladdin.
huge for me.
Oh,
See, I-
yeah, and that,
personally.
like I think Pixar's a
You're
different
saying
level.
okay, so you're saying
usually.
hand animated.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think when
Oh,
I
yeah.
think about that's what. So like, Aladdin, I love.
Aladdin is great. I think Robin Williams is
Aladdin,
so.
yeah, Aladdin might be the.
Never
might
had
be
a
the
friend like
play.
me was stuck in my head for like
What else
months.
is there? I know we're.
Yeah.
Do y'all know what I wonder? I would have liked to have rewatched, but I didn't want to like waste my movie on it. But Dumbo.
Which I'm excited about the Tim Burton remake of Dumbo.
I didn't,
didn't know that's a thing.
I didn't. You're right. I don't feel terribly excited about rewatching Dumbo
But
either.
I kind of want to just because like I feel like it was a good movie. People loved it.
I would go for Dumbo again. I'd go for Pinocchio again. Actually, Pinocchio
I
might
love
be
that.
my favorite.
Oh, Pinocchio is really good.
Pinocchio was great, and Snow White soon will be 100.
Snow White.
1928.
That's
Sleeping
wild.
Beauty,
I would like to watch
I
it just
remember.
because it's going to be like just because it's 90 years ago. I'd like to watch it just
Oh, yeah.
as like a historical
Yeah.
piece.
And it's still. I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time, but
I think
would
Aladdin
imagine
is
it's
Aladdin
still-
my favorite. I think Aladdin might be. I mean, it's tough. I really did like
I
Little
like
Mermaid.
Aladdin.
And as far as maybe down the line, we should do like Disney DVD or Disney sequels, because like Fox and the Hound 2 has a sequel, which I looked up.
Get the. I'm not what. I'm not watching Fox and the
I
Hound.
just
2.
said Aladdin 2, The Return,
No,
the
it's
Revenge
Return.
of Jafar.
I love
is-
Aladdin 2.
It's
Aladdin
bad.
2 is.
Oh, I
it's
love
not
Aladdin
bad.
2.
It's not nearly as good as
Lion King
Aladdin
1.5 is
3
great.
Den of 100 Thieves. What was
Okay,
like
Aladdin.
one of the later Aladdin sequels? I don't know. I just
I loved
remember
all the
being
Aladdin
hyped.
and all the
Yeah,
following
but
Aladdin ones.
but I bet you if you revisit Aladdin 2, you're not going to.
I'm not going to revisit
Yes,
Aladdin 2.
exactly.
I will
Let
revisit
that-
Aladdin 1.
Let that just live in your brain as what it is. You know why Aladdin's the best Disney movie?
Why?
Gilbert Godfrey, just yelling as Iago
he's
the
great.
entire time.
He's so good in that movie.
All
right.
I feel like you could probably do a good Gilbert Godfrey impression. Nathan, have you ever tried?
You're just on the spot right now.
I'm just
I know,
Gilbert
I was-
Godfrey on the spot.
No,
thought
I
you
was
could do
wondering.
pretty
I
good,
was
like, on the
wondering if you
spot.
had like if you just had. I thought you might have it up your sleeve, like you'd
You
already
might have
practiced
already
it at
done it.
home.
I feel like I should have done it when you did it, but now there's been too much
You do it
build-up
really
and I'm
quick.
not going to be able
Let
to
me
do
try
it.
to think. How does Gilbert Godfrey sound? He's like, what's the deal with it? I'm like, it's like
He's in that what's that movie? Trouble. Wait.
Trouble
I
with the
actually don't know
Curve?
anything that Gilbert Godfrey's
If
actually.
I
in.
will watch Aladdin and then try it. I
Trouble-
kind of have a vague idea of what he sounds like, which is bad prep for
It's
me.
a movie.
doing
It's the kid, and he's so bad.
Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
What? Yeah, I don't know.
It's
it's fine.
whatever. I'll think of it. But he's in that movie and he very much is good.
So none of us can do a Gilbert Godfrey
I
impression.
definitely
unfortunately.
I don't think so.
We listen
Lilo
to
and
that,
Stitch is great.
Disagree. I was never really a Lilo and Stitch
I have
fan.
actually never seen that
It
movie.
did nothing for me. Mahana means family. I think I might have been just a little too old maybe for Lilo and Stitch
I
or
think
something.
that's exactly what
It did not appeal to me.
And y'all don't like the Aristocats, right?
I've
I
never
think
seen it.
I think it was all right. I watched
I'm really
it a lot as
sad
a kid.
we didn't watch Lady and the Tramp, which I get why we didn't.
All
But-
Dogs Go to Heaven was one that I
$15.
loved
I've never
growing
seen that
up.
one. Watching these.
Oh man, I love that movie.
I know a lot of people, like whenever they started getting like 17, 18, 19, who wanted like to work at Disney. And I never really got why as you got older, you like actively wanted to work at Disney like full time. Watching these movies, I got it. It's been a long time since I've gone to the Disney animated movie. There's a strange feel about being in a Disney movie that is so wonderful.
I was, that was one of my big takeaways from watching these as well, was being impressed with the animation and the quality of the animation and the movies that they created.
I can understand why Disney's taking over everything. They've pretty much changed movies for the good.
Yeah.
They've been around for, decades.
It makes me want to read more about Walt Disney and just his history in the early process of creating Disney.
They brought in like a lot of philosophers to work on Alice in Wonderland, apparently.
Really?
That doesn't surprise me.
What was it? My favorite animated movie, though, before we rank these things of all time, though, isn't actually even a Disney movie.
What is it?
It's Fantastic Mr. Fox up there. But growing up, it was always Anastasia. I loved Anastasia.
Anastasia's great.
Got the best
I was
music.
like super into that whole deal though, like the
Meg
whole
Ryan.
story behind it.
Oh, see, I didn't know too much or care for the story. I just loved the
Like the story
songs.
is like the
Oh, shoot. I might watch that
the
tonight now.
story is like
The
I mean
songs
because
are
it's a
good.
true story or based on based on like,
well, yes.
What's the name of the villain?
When the Russian Rasputin, when
Not that
Tsar
bad of a guy.
Nicholas and them got overthrown, the
real life
rumor
stuff
is
is
that
very
Anastasia
interesting.
never got found.
but then there was a girl who came out and said she was Anastasia.
Oh, I didn't know all that.
I'm Anastasia.
It was very interesting.
And the little, even the, I had a toy of the little bat. That was a great comic relief character.
Yeah,
who
it
fit
was.
perfectly.
Rasputin too. His real life story is pretty crazy. How they tried to
How
kill
many
him.
times he tried to be killed and it just
Yeah,
never
it took
happened.
a while. And then I think he had like a really big penis. Is one thing that Rasputin's known for.
If you guys want to trip not even on any substances, y'all should watch A Fantastic Planet. Awesome animated movie and it's quite a
Interesting.
ride.
All right. Well, let's get into ranking
do it.
these movies. Where would you rank these three?
For
Number three. Let's start with number three.
Number 3, I'm gonna go Tarzan. I'm putting Tarzan at number 3.
I think I'm gonna go Fox and the Hound number 3.
I waffled back and forth on this again a lot, but in the end, I thought Fox and the Hound had more to say, so I'm going Tarzan number 3.
Tarzan number. I feel like I might rank Tarzan higher as a movie than you would, though. I still really enjoyed
I would still
Tarzan.
recommend it, but yeah, I think there's a lot of animated Disney movies that I would take over
Yeah.
it.
Second, I'm gonna go Fox and the Hound.
Yep.
Which I guess I'll just talk more about why I wanted number 1 when we get to number 1. But yeah, I thought I was going to be number 1 on Fox and the Hound, but not as much for some reason. The animation I thought left a little bit to be desired. It's still great, but
Yes.
it was very. I thought maybe middle of the range type of
It
Disney.
looked like it could have been from like 50 as
Yeah.
well. Like
Yeah.
it like wasn't like
the type of thing like whenever something's gonna move on the screen, it's like much more outlined. It
well,
has
and that
much
is,
more
I mean,
color.
I think that's just because when you're hand drawing stuff, that has to move, so everything else isn't getting redrawn every time, right?
Well-
so they're like just redrawing that, but
The thing is when we get to Alice in Wonderland was 30 years earlier, and there was almost none of that.
that's true. That's true. It's yes.
But yeah,
that's-
number
yes.
2 for me is Fox and the Hound.
I mean, I agree with you. You're actually completely right, and I agree with what you're saying.
Number 2 for me was Tarzan, which was surprising. But I think once I fell into the adoption stuff and like the kids fitting in and the
Yeah.
struggle parents go through with that kind of thing, I couldn't get out of it. And it was I loved it.
Did you think Fox and what'd you put as number 3?
Fox and the Hound.
What did you think that was going to be number 1?
I thought it would be 1 or 2
Okay, all right.
for sure.
My number 2, Fox and the Hound. Yeah, I thought, like I said, I thought it had a lot more to say than Tarzan did, or maybe just emotionally touched me more. And I really like how they nailed the setting, the rural setting of it. I think they just knocked it out of the park. And even though you're right, the animation was unimpressive, but I still liked the greenery. I liked the setting, I guess, even
Yeah.
if it maybe wasn't like knocked out the park in how they executed it.
Oh,
What-
it still destroyed me emotionally watching it as an
Yeah,
adult. So
for
it was
sure.
still very strong.
I mean, Tarzan is actually, I think, superior looking to Fox and the Hound. Has way better music. It's, I think, a more fun kids movie, but I think it's maybe the less overall quality movie.
yeah. And
Number one.
Number one for me was Alice in Wonderland. Not even as a kids movie. I think like a group of adults could get together and still enjoy this. I thought that the way that the movie worked on a story level, there wasn't too much going on from picking apart the story. Although you did, and I thought that was very interesting the way that what you took away, and I think that is all definitely there. But just on a movie and the quality of a movie, or like how influential it's been cinematically, I think it's pretty awesome and pretty groundbreaking what an animation like this, especially in the 50s, was able to do. It's so much fun to watch. It's
timeless.
really. Oh yeah, and I think this will probably be around a lot longer than the other two that we've talked about.
I loved it. I mean, I agree with everything you said. Plus, I just loved Alice as a character. She's so quotable. Ugh.
Yeah, she
was great.
is quotable,
She
dude.
is so quotable.
How old does she look?
Really
in
good
this
writing,
movie?
really
She's
strong
supposed
writing.
to be maybe
She's
like
12, 13.
I
something
think
like
as a
that.
kid, you could look up to her as a kid, and you could relate to her on the level
always
of being
giving
an adult.
myself such good advice, and I'm never following it.
I know, it's so good. Yeah, I got an Alice in Wonderland number one as well.
Good job, T-Bob, on picking this movie.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Good job.
nice. It's a but that said, I didn't know it was going to be this good when I watched it. Like
Yeah.
I just hadn't seen it since I was a little kid, so I was like, I'd be interested to see how it holds up, and it actually improved. I think over time,
I
like
love
like
the
a fine
songs.
wine.
I've been listening to the songs. I haven't listened to any of the other songs from the other movies, but
really?
I loved the Carpenter and the Walrus
Yes.
song. That was great.
That is the one that really, I think, in terms of satirizing, because that would have been like kind of around the rise of industry and these, people making money off of labor's back and not really maybe giving labor their fair share. Like that was the one that stood out to me a lot in that regard. This movie's great. Just look at the pop culture impact it's had.
Absolutely.
When you think about phrases, through the looking glass, go ask Alice, down the rabbit hole. And obviously it all comes from a story originally, but I think that the movie is what made it even more like mass appeal. Also, this gave us The Matrix, so we obviously should be very thankful
There
for
you
it.
go. Oh yeah, Follow the White Rabbit. Although, can we thank Jefferson Airplane a little bit for that? I think that definitely.
They also deserve
They also
credit.
deserve
I thought
credit.
that was Janis Joplin forever, but it's not.
Oh.
It's a great song, though.
It is.
Okay, that is it for this edition of Real Friends. Looks like Alice in Wonderland is this week's big winner. And then some split on Fox and the Hound and Tarzan. I would recommend all three movies for kids, for sure. Everybody have a great week, and we will be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thank you for listening. Share it, whatever, if you like it. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.